At Mental for Moto, our mission is to give the unsung heroes of Aussie motocross a voice. From grassroots racing right through to the biggest events in the country, sharing the stories you won't hear anywhere else. If you're interested in the advertising packages that we have available, or just want to show your support, please check out our website, www.mentalformoto.com, and we can tailor a package to suit your needs. Now, let's get on with the show.
There were times I was lost, dark had fear, couldn't see through the rain. In the end it was clear, hit the fan. I was more than one man who was there to lend a hand. Together we'd stand, always at my back, my guardian soldier. Team pulled together, united we conquer. Blessed is he who in the name of charity carry me when I'm weak, straight through the valley of darkness. Pitch blackness, the heartless, regardless, fear couldn't part us. Thick and thin, there by my side. At times we collide, but in the end we ride. Thick and thin, there by my side. At times we collide, but in the end we ride. We ride, ride.
Hey there, Moto fans. We have got another great episode of the Mental for Moto show lined up for you guys today. Before we get into it, a big thanks to our partners here at Mental for Moto, Fastline Suspension, Southeast Pools, Ultimate Toy Haulers, Wolf Building Compliance, and the July sponsor of the Mental for Moto Motocross Wall Calendars, Iro Helmets. Now, it's been a little while between drinks, but to talk all things 2026 Aussie Supercross, it is my pleasure to welcome back Mick Sinclair to the show. How you going, Mick?
I'm good, thank you, Pete. Lovely to be here with you. Thanks for having me back. It has been a while, and yeah, I really enjoyed the last time we did this, and I know we've tried to do it a couple of times since, so yeah, I'm stoked to be doing it again. It's really cool.
Yeah, I usually try catch up with you throughout the series as well, and we've done a few interviews, so it's always been good. But before we start talking about Supercross, what have you been up to?
Quite a bit, mate. I mean, work is super busy. We're getting, close to crunch time with Supercross, but yeah, work, really busy with my two kids and their racing. We're off to Brisbane this weekend. We got World Championships, so it's nice to have World Champs here in Australia. We did Copenhagen last year in Denmark and Glasgow before that, the year before that. So yeah,
That's
it's
for
nice
BMX,
to
yeah?
have a. Yeah, this is BMX, so it's nice to have a home Worlds. First time World Champs have been in Australia since the early 2000s, and it's probably based off that could be our last home Worlds. So yeah, super excited to get up to Brizzy next week. And honestly, between work and my kids racing, I mean that consumes all my time. Don't really do anything else other than that. So I'm sure the other dads out there listening to me with their kids racing moto, they would totally get it. So I'm just like them, that's for sure. It's I go to work and then we go training and then we go racing, and then it all rolls around like that pretty much.
Well, I want to ask you a little bit about your work, but before that, just with the BMX World Championships, how big are they? Like, how much of a crowd do they get, and how many participants do they have?
Yeah, it's a good question. Their participants at World Champs is around 2,500. I know it's sold out every day in terms of crowd. I think they might get, a few thousand there every day, which is pretty cool. They have a live TV broadcast, which is also awesome. The elite guys will race this weekend on Saturday and Sunday, and then what they call the challenge classes. So anyone who's not elite races next week. So it's very exciting. I mean, my daughter's looking really good, done a lot of work, and yeah, just super excited to get up there and get amongst it. We've done two now, like I said, just her and I. So to go up with, the family and Huds is racing too. It's going to be a pretty cool week.
I mean, just like moto dads, I guess it's very similar for you. Do you get nervous on the sidelines?
Very much so. And it's interesting because at World Champs for BMX, we're not allowed near them. We're going to drop them off in the morning. We hand them over to the Team Australia team managers, and that's it. If we want to talk to them about anything, it's just all done on the phone. And yeah, so it's definitely different to moto, but I definitely get nervous. We're so invested in it, and I love it so much. Like, nothing brings me more joy than watching my kids race. And yeah, I just can't wait to get back up there. It's going to be really cool.
That is very cool. All right, as far as the AME thing goes, obviously you're in charge now of promoting the Australian Supercross Championship and this year the AUSX Championship. I think it's your fourth year doing this.
Yep.
Is the AME thing a full-time gig for you? Like, do you spend all
Oh
year
yeah.
working on, that 2-month championship?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's funny you say that, and I think it's the second time I've been asked that question on a show in the last 7 days. It's like, oh, so what do you do all year? I mean, this thing doesn't stop. To put 5 events on the way we do in big stadiums like this with live TV, commercial partners, it doesn't happen, 1 month before the event. So, we'll run those 5 events, and then we'll go into reporting mode up until Christmas. And then, with my role as, like head of commercial partnerships, I pretty much go into sales mode from, January onwards. We let everyone get back from Christmas, and then, and it even starts before that. Like we'll start selling sponsorship for next year, this October. And then from there, it's pretty much all year round. Like still today, we're still finding new partners and bringing in new brands to the sport. And I've probably contacted over 600 brands for sponsorship. Like that takes a lot of time, not an easy thing to do. So yeah, it's keeps us busy all year round. I mean, I get to take next week off, and that would be my first week off for the year. And it's because, yeah, I'm going to Worlds. I mean, I'll always be contactable. I know Adam and Callie are having a holiday at the moment in Bali with summer, but, they've been on 3 meetings with me today. So it's you never turn off. Like we're such a small team. At head office, there's 5 of us putting on these events. Like, we're putting on events, that outsell the Sunday at MotoGP. And if you look at how many people the GP Corp have, it would be 10 times what we have.
Yep.
So, we're all wearing, 3 to 4 hats during the week. On any single day, we're probably wearing 3 to 4 hats. Come event week, it's more than that. So, I mean, we're a super lean team. I like to call us small and mighty. But yeah, man, all year round, we're doing something. We don't get a lot of time off, that's for sure.
I know at the other end of the spectrum, like with riders, they've been finding it, harder to get sponsorship with the economic climate at the moment. Has that sort of been the same for you guys to get that support that you need to run the series with everything else that's going on?
Sponsorship is very hard, but we're also doing very well because of the growth we've got in the championship and the type of event that we're delivering. This year will be, in terms of revenue, the most we've raised in sponsorship. We've brought in, 2 or 3 brand new brands to Supercross this year, including, caravan brands and like Henderson Advocacy. What do? They do home loans and bits and pieces. So like there is all these new brands that wouldn't have even been looking at Supercross 4 years ago or even 3 years ago. And we're having conversations with many of them, like lots of them, and we're getting some of them across the line. I mean, if you had told me 2 years ago that we would have had a Chinese car manufacturer, one of the biggest in the world, sponsoring Supercross with their outdoor adventure brand, I would say you're kidding yourself. But we do. Like Jayco are back on for a second year. Same as DeWalt Tools, one of the biggest tool companies in the world, Stanley Black and Decker, and they've come on board this year, bigger and better than compared to last year. And the likes of Boost and Monster and Austrac Campers are on this year. Like it's going really well. It's a grind. Don't get me wrong. You've got to get 15 partners. You've got to talk to 500. You've got to get used to being told no really quick, or used to not hearing anything back at all. It's cool. I mean, it's what I do. I'd say it's 80% of my role now is commercial partnerships, and yeah, it's going pretty good. I think we wouldn't get a look in with any of these brands if we weren't going to the stadiums that we're going to, if we didn't have the broadcast package that we had, if we didn't have the riders and the international riders at the events. There's if we like, for example, if we were still running supercrosses at Wagga, like I think that was our last speedway event in 2022. I wasn't there then, but there's no way we would have these brands talking to us. They'd be looking at it and going, "Nah, thanks. This is a smash up derby." But because of the venues we're going to, the events we're putting on, the riders we're bringing out, we're able to get on live TV and have a really good broadcast package. And Adam's doing a great job of getting serious interest from major networks. We were on 7+ a couple of years ago. Now we're on KO. The growth we've had from moving to KO has been massive. I mean, I think 2023 was our last year on 7+. We had 70,000 people watch our broadcast. unique viewers. Last year we had 460,000. So that growth in 2 years is massive because of that shift from 7+ to KO. Now, if we didn't go to some of those venues that we've gone to and get some of the riders that we had, there's no way we would be on KO. And now because we're on KO, we've got interest. And I'm not saying it's going to happen this year, but we've got interest from major networks. So you're thinking live on Channel 9 or live on Channel 7. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
It's not likely this year, but that's a big deal.
Most definitely.
And that helps with getting these brands on board.
And how do you find these brands? Is this just a process of cold calling, or you look at, brands that have been interested in motorsport, other types of motorsport?
A bit of both. I mean, JQ, I didn't even know that was such a thing until I went to a car show 2 years ago. And I saw all these new Chinese brands popping up, and I pulled out my phone and my notebook and wrote every single one of them down. And on the Monday, that was a Saturday. On the Monday, I hit every single one of them up, and JQ was one that bit.
Yep. Well, you mentioned
DeWalt Tools, of course. We see how DeWalt, they're so invested in supercars, and that was an easy one to try and get on board. They weren't easy to get on board, but they come on board in a small way last year, and this year they've come in a really big way. So yeah, the brands we're working with are great. I mean, they feel like partners, not sponsors. I definitely feel like that. We talk, most weeks. We work really well with them. They're invested in what we're doing. They're massive supporters of what we're doing, and they're great to work with. So yeah, I mean, how do I find them? I find them great because, I mean, if it wasn't for them, this thing wouldn't be going. So it's, we work really hard for them. We treat them like a partner, not like they're a sponsor. And yeah, it's really good.
Well, tell me a little bit about the growth of the series. You mentioned that there's been a lot of buzz about what the championship looks like this year. There's, I guess, fans that are super excited to see it. From the rider perspective, there is a little bit of apprehension because it does look a little bit different. But yeah, just tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like we're definitely in the best spot AUSX has been in. It feels like it's the most stable the series has ever been in. I think we've really hit that sweet spot now of 5 individual rounds. Back in 23 when I started, and it was Callie, Ash, myself, Alice. We did 3 rounds, and one was in the Adelaide Entertainment Centre, which was really interesting. The following year, 24, we did 4 rounds, and then last year we did 5 rounds, but we did a double header. So, I mean, the growth has been great. I think 5 unique rounds or individual rounds is that sweet spot, and that's the kind of feedback we're getting. I think if we were to try and grow any bigger than that right now, if we were to try and run 7, that would be really difficult. So I feel like we've really hit that sweet spot. It's super stable, and I think that's probably where it needs to be for the next few years.
When you're talking about the number of rounds as well, like, do you see that as an ingredient in the actual growth of the sport in Australia?
Yeah, of course. I mean, for it to be a legitimate championship, I think it has to be, 4 to 5, and again, 5 rounds is that nice spot. It's it's doable and achievable for teams and privateers to do. Like I said, I think if we were to do 7, it'd probably burst the bubble.
Yeah.
So yeah, right now I think 5 is where it's at, and it's always good to have growth year on year, and we'll have lots of growth year on year, especially around attendance, broadcast numbers. You see our growth we've had from 70,000 to 460,000 in 2 years. We want to hit 600,000 this year, which I think we'll do easily. Probably maybe more like 800,000. So that's where we're going to see the growth from. We don't need to run more rounds for that. And like I said, I think 5 for now. Not saying forever, but for now is that really good number.
Well, I guess that leads into the first of our listener questions. We put a call out for listeners to leave messages to be able to ask questions about the championship. So the first questions, and it's a 3-part question, is from Michael B.
Hi Pete, thanks for the opportunity to ask questions in relation to the 2026 Supercross. My first point is I think AMA need to be congratulated on the 23-24 season, as it was relatively quite successful, especially when you compare it to the 2022 season, which was probably nothing but a disaster. My first question is, how does AME see the growth of the sport over the last 3 years? How do they see the growth progressing over the next 3 years, and at what level are they expecting the growth to be? And, what metrics do they actually use to measure that growth?
They're really good questions. So thanks for that. I think you could probably sum it up all in one. Had growth over the last 3 years. Oh, I mean, we've spoken about that. We've increased rounds. With that, we've increased attendees, increased our broadcast viewership massively. We've increased our social metrics. So how we've seen growth from the last 3 years, that's where we've seen it. I mean, I think that's pretty obvious for everyone. Growth over the next 3 years, I mean, I think I just went through that. I think, we kind of want to have some stability in the amount of rounds that we're doing, but we're going to see growth from that broadcast. We're going to see growth in participation with a lot of the junior riders coming through. We started that 85 class 3 years ago. And these kids are slowly moving up to SX3. Last year, SX3 sold out straight away. Those kids are going to go to SX2 over the next year or two, and eventually into SX1, and we're going to have a new breed of 85 kids come through every year. So I think it's going to take another year or two, and probably even a couple of years, but we're going to see a lot more people racing Supercross organically just because of that 85 class starting a few years ago. His third bit was how do we measure it? And I mean, honestly, I haven't sat down and spoke to Adam and Callie about this, and it's probably a good question for them. But how I see, how I measure growth and success for us is definitely being stable with that amount of rounds, but participation, which we spoke about, crowd attendees, filling these bigger stadiums, broadcast domestically and globally. Supercars are the biggest motorsport property in Australia, and definitely we aspire to be like them. We know we're not there yet, but we're reaching for the stars, and feel like we genuinely believe we can be what supercars are now and be the biggest motorsport property in Australia, and that's our goal. So to do that, we need to have huge broadcast numbers. We need to be on major networks, and and that's that's kind of how we measure success too. So and then general eyeballs in the sport, and interest via partnerships too. I think that's pretty important, bringing new brands into the sport every year. Like when we say new brands too, I mean big mainstream brands. One of the brands I was talking to this year was Omo. They showed interest. I didn't get them across the line, but if you had told me last year or 2 years ago there was a washing powder brand that's massive, sold throughout Coles, Woolies, Bunnings, you name it, that's owned by Unilever, one of the biggest businesses, fast moving consumable goods businesses in the world, were interested in Supercross, I wouldn't believe you, but they are. So that's an exciting sign of the times. That's how I measure it.
Yeah, I think getting outside sponsors into the sport is always a challenge, and it's good to see that you're getting that sort of interest. I wanted to talk a little bit about the participation level. As I sort of alluded to earlier, is a bit of apprehension, especially around the privateers, and the listeners will know that I work a fair bit with the privateers, and I've been listening to a lot of things around the Pro MX pits and stuff about that. So actually, I had a look at some participation numbers for the Supercross, and across 23 and 24 there was a massive increase from previous years.
Yeah.
In 2025, on average, there was more events, but on average there was a drop-off. Now, in terms of the way the championship is this year, with going to Auckland, Perth, Townsville, what are your expectations in terms of the participation numbers this year, and are you expecting a bit of a drop-off?
It's a good question. I'm not expecting a drop off. My gut feel it's going to be pretty consistent compared to last year, which I felt like was, you say it was a drop off compared to the year before. It wouldn't have been much, especially, SX3 sold out straight away. I did notice there was a little drop off in 85s last year compared to the year before, and I think mainly because 85s was really new the year before that, and they were excited, and then a bunch of them moved up to SX3, and that's why that sold out, and we might not have got that next breed of 85 kids straight away. But that's okay. That's going to happen. I mean, there was a lot of curveballs this year with some of those new venues. It's not, we didn't want to introduce so many new things this year. Auckland, for example, we've been talking about that for a couple of years. I know Adam's been talking to TAU, which is the tourism board in Auckland, for a couple of years, and you can't go to Auckland without government funding, and when that government funding is there, you got to go, and that happened. Our plan wasn't to go to Townsville this year. Our plan was to go back to Redcliffe. We really loved that stadium. I thought it had such a good vibe over the last couple of years, and up until April this year, that's where we thought we were going. And then they told us, we weren't welcome back this year. So we had to go scrambling, and it's not an easy thing to find venues that time of year, because you're up against A-League, you're up against concert season, you're up against the Rugby League World Cup this year, and that's how Townsville come about. They had a date. I mean, I know there's a date clash there with AJMX, which isn't ideal, and we tried to avoid that like the plague. We tried to do everything. That's the last thing we wanted to do, but it was either that or not run around in Queensland, and that would have had a super negative response as well. So, I mean, Townsville's going to be great. You see the supercar crowd they get up there. It's a heartland for motorcycling and dirt biking. It's close to Gladstone. It's close to Rockhampton. Those people will drive 4 or 5 hours and think they're just going down the road. So, the stadium is great. We're super excited to go up there, and you could see the excitement from the locals when we had our media update and the amount of local press we got. So, we know it's not ideal, but we didn't want to go backwards in terms of the amount of rounds we had. We didn't want to go back to 4 rounds, especially when one's in Auckland and the other's in Perth. That wouldn't have worked. And we had sold sponsorship based on 5 rounds. We know riders and teams had sold sponsorship on 5 rounds, so we had to do it. Again, we know it's not ideal. We didn't want to introduce so many new stadiums this year. However, we didn't really have a choice.
Yeah, in terms of the expansion into New Zealand, I think the AUSX Championship has become synonymous with the Australian Supercross Championship, and I think that was sort of a bit of a surprise to a lot of people this year. Was that always sort of part of the long-term plan, in years leading up to this one, or was that sort of a bit of a spontaneous, or opportunistic?
Like I just said, Pete, I mean, it's not the first time we've done it. We were there in, I think it was 2018 and 2019, and then we didn't go back because of COVID. So it was always a part of it, of what we've done at AME, and it's something that's never really gone away. Those conversations have always happened with different, tourism boards and governments in New Zealand. And like I said, you can't go there without government funding. And government funding doesn't happen overnight. That conversation's been happening for years. So, but when you get it, you have to go. So, we just don't decide, we might go to New Zealand and then, pick up the phone and ring someone at the government and say, hey, can you give us some cash so we can fund all the riders to come over or subsidise the riders to come over? That doesn't happen overnight. That's conversation that goes for years.
Yeah. And I understand.
And when it happens, you got to go.
Yeah. And I understand.
You can't knock it back.
As a result of that clash with AJMX and the move of the championship to Auckland, that you're basically going to be running 2 separate championships concurrently. The AUSX Championship, which will be all 5 rounds, which we'll break down soon. And then the Australian Championship will be the last 3 rounds, which is Melbourne, Perth and Sydney?
No, Auckland will be part of that as well.
Part of the Australian Championship?
Correct.
Oh, okay. Well, then that leads to my next question. With, traditionally in Australia, MA being the governing body, how does that affect the round in Auckland?
It's fine. I mean, we work with MNZ on that. They permit the event like, MA would here. And we've had Kevin and Adam and Callie, working with MA every day, putting this together and getting this structure, to where it is now. So, I mean, it's really no different to any other round.
This might be a bit of more of a technical question, but with MA traditionally being the governing body for events in Australia, there would have been an MA representative overseeing the championship. Like, how or who is responsible then for upholding the integrity of the Australian Championship across all those 4 rounds, especially in relation to that round that's in New Zealand?
We are. I mean, we've also got Kevin Williams, who's our race director, and he's needs no introduction to anyone really. He's like our conduit for most of the time to MA, and he is with MNZ. He works on with the FIM, which doesn't really have anything to do. Well, it does, because we international riders need FIM licenses. So again, it's the relationship is going okay. It's fine. Kevin's doing a great job managing that, as well as Callie and Adam. So I mean, it's going to just be business as usual. I mean, the race is going to go ahead. It's going to be part of the championship. Whether and you're just not going to know any different. It's not going to feel any different.
All right. Well, on that note, then let's talk about the calendar and the venues. Break it down for me.
Yeah, cool. Like I said, Townsville is going to be really exciting. The stadium is amazing. It's a world-class stadium. I think it's Country Bank Stadium. I call it Cowboy Stadium still. But yeah, it's going to be pretty epic. Like I said earlier, the response we had from the locals and local media when we had our media day up there was amazing. It's been received really well. We know how well that supercar event goes up there. I think it was just on last weekend, the NTI 1000, I think it is. So yeah, it's going to be really cool to get up there. There isn't really too much more to say about that one. We're excited, and we got some government funding from Queensland to go up there, which means we're getting a lot of support locally. Yeah, it's going to be good.
Yep, and then we go to Auckland for round 2.
Auckland's going to be good as well. North Harbour Stadium, I was there a couple of weeks ago. It's a really nice stadium. It doesn't really get used for anything else other than that's where the All Blacks train now. It's about 20 minutes out of the city. There's been Supercross there before. There's been World Speedway GP has been there before. Yeah, it's really cool. Rectangle. It's quite big. Grandstands all the way around. It's going to be good. We're going to have SX 1, 2, and 3 there. We're still looking at whether we get an 85 class for the Kiwi kids. There's definitely some interest there. But yeah, it's going to be really cool. We've got some really cool partnerships there. We're actually just working through one now. That's going to bring a lot of excitement to the event. It's Sky City, and it's the main casino / entertainment complex in Auckland. So we're looking at shutting down streets and doing FMX the day before, and doing live podcasts there with Kenny and Cole, and that's where the after party will be. So that Sky City hub right in the middle of Auckland is going to be like a real little AUSX Auckland hub for us. So the lineup there's going to be great. I know the locals are really keen to see Cole come back and race. Getting Kenny there for the first time is also very cool. So I think it's going to be cool.
I think from an event perspective, there's a lot of excitement there, and it sounds like it's going to be an awesome event. But it'd be remiss of me not to ask, because it's something that does get brought up a little bit. But as far as the Australian Championship goes, like, how do you address the critics that say, well, New Zealand isn't part of Australia?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, maybe you hear more than what I do, but I haven't heard anyone complain that a round of the championship is a part of the Australian Championship or the AUSX Championship. So I think it's great that MA want to include it. It helps, again, expand the championship to those rounds, those amount of rounds. And yeah, I mean, like I said, it doesn't matter where it is. It's still going to feel like an AUSX Championship round. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe you're hearing different to what I am, but yeah, I haven't heard, a lot of negativity about it at all.
All right. Well, we'll move on. So after that, we're going to Melbourne. A little bit of a change away from Marvel to Geelong.
Yeah, it's an exciting one too. Marvel, the event that's always came with the biggest or the most amount of risk for us. If you don't get that 25, 26,000 people to that event, it runs at a loss. And if that runs at a loss, that's going to really hurt, puts me out of a job. Um, you know, it's not great. So, but it's also from that side, it's also one of the hardest to prop up that car park because of the wait to find a date around concert season. I mean, one of the biggest reasons why we didn't go back this year was the date that we were given, and the only date we could have was in between Guns N' Roses and Robbie Williams. And those guys were going to share a stage. So it meant, you would notice that when we do AUSX Open at Marvel, we bring the side grandstands in, we retract them in. But because that because that stage was there, we couldn't bring those seats in. So the crowd was going to be way too far away. Plus the stage and the backdrop of that, we would lose a lot of seating at one end, including a lot of corporate seating. So it wasn't going to work. Adam's told me he'd been talking to Geelong for the last couple of years. So that's, that conversation isn't new. It almost happened last year, but it didn't. But yeah, the opportunity was to go down there this year. I've been down there a couple of times and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm surprised how narrow that ground is. It's quite narrow for an AFL ground where it's almost rectangle. If you look at an overhead shot of it, you'll see one side of it's almost straight. So the crowd's really close. It's not like a traditional footy oval where there's a big distance from those, lower seating to the track. So the track's still really close to those first few rows. It's had a recent run over the last 4 years. The corporate facilities are great. Again, there's really no bad seat in the place. There isn't actually. We're going to have a huge track at that place. I can't wait for you guys to see the track map. It's actually on our website. You can jump on the website and have a look. But when we launch these JQ track animations, you're just going to see how much dirt's going into that place. And the track is going to run the whole way around the stadium. And be filled in towards the middle. It's going to be huge. It's going to be exciting. To have the trucks in that fan fest will be great compared to Marvel. We couldn't do that at Marvel. We couldn't have all the trucks up on the concourse. So that pit party or fan fest is going to have a really cool environment with all the team trucks up there, all the riders up there. We've got a lot of partners this year, like we mentioned, so their activations are going to be fun and exciting. We work really close with our partners to ensure that what they're activating really brings value to that pit party. So that's exciting. Yeah, I can't wait. The lineup is obviously going to be huge. Kenny, Cole, Joe, plus the full lineup of AUSX riders. It's going to be pretty incredible.
Yeah, I was at that Supercross. I think it was 2018, the last time we were in Geelong.
Yeah, I was too, and I'm going to say you cannot even compare the two.
In terms of the track, I guess there's a good opportunity there to bring in our next listener question. This one comes from Bronson D, who is MX conditioning coach.
With the rise of Supercross over the last couple of years in Oz, more and more riders are training for it and more tracks are being built than ever. And even younger kids are getting quality training on these tracks now. Can we expect to see higher level tracks being built this season? And is there any changes to the track building process to allow the tracks more time to settle before being ridden on to avoid the need for harder surfaces?
It's a good question. I mean, I don't think the first bit's really fair because I think the quality of track we've had over the last couple of years or since, we've been working with Pro Tracks and even before that with Brooksy and Brooksy still works alongside Pro Tracks. I think the tracks have been pretty good. Yeah, so I think that question's a little harsh because I think the tracks have been great. I really love what Pro Tracks do. I love the way Josh designs them. I think they're as good as any, Monster Energy Supercross track in the US and especially with the space and the time we've got to work with. In terms of giving them more time, I mean, we don't get any more access to these stadiums. The biggest risk at going to these stadiums is killing turf. And when you do kill turf, it's quite costly and it's not a nice experience for anyone within our business. So we don't get access any earlier, but I believe the track builders will have more time to work, potentially work around the clock more. And I don't know the reason why. I'm assuming that, and I could be wrong, so I might check with Cal and maybe message you this, but I assume it's because we don't have curfews around truck movements and digger movements or machinery movements, creating noise where, you go to Wollongong and there's apartments looking down into that stadium
Yeah.
and Marvel, and you've got to shut it down at 10 o'clock or
Yeah.
11 o'clock or whatever it might be. So, a lot of these places come with noise. Maybe we're not getting that, but I did hear today in one of our catch-ups that one of our internal catch-ups was, that the track builders are having more time. Well, they're getting more hours on the track. Same amount of days, but definitely more hours.
Yeah, that's very cool. All right. Well, I guess after that, it was big news. It's probably been coming for a few years, and it's definitely something that's been spoken about in the preceding years. But we move to Perth for round 4.
Yeah, how good. I mean, I know it's so far away and it's tricky to get to, but Pro MX, I'm not sure the last time when Pro MX was there, but we know back when I was at Fox, we would go there pretty much every second year, and no one would really complain about it. It's always received really well down there. I think World Supercross, it went well for them a couple of years ago. We're going back to the same stadium. I think it holds around 18,000 or something like that, and I think we'll fill every single seat in there. I think almost pretty much every corporate seat's gone already. With Joe being there, the first time Australian Supercross has been there for 15 years. I think the last time was 2011.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So, and you could just see the response. I mean, it's funny because every year we announce the season and we don't go there. The feedback is it's an East Coast series. When you're coming back to Perth, of course, Perth didn't get a look in again. And you could just see how stoked people were from the West that we were going. And the industry is also happy in terms of the partners and the manufacturers. I think that it's important for the manufacturers for us to go there because it's still a huge market. I just looked, was it 2 days ago? I think in terms of dirt bike sales in Australia, Perth's still around 14%, which is a pretty high number. So, there's still plenty of people riding, lots of enthusiasts. So, yeah, it's going to be really cool to go back.
Yeah, and as you said, it's a long way, but we do see riders go over to the West for the Manjimup 15,000.
Exactly.
They do go over there for other events. So, yeah, I think it's cool, and it's definitely something that's been missed out of an Australian series. And while an East Coast championship makes it easier logistically, it's only really one part of Australia.
Yeah. Look, I don't know. I know Adam's working on the calendar for next year already, and speaking with venues, and I honestly haven't had a conversation with him about it, so I don't know if it's our plan to go back next year or if we're going to do it every second year or not. Who knows? I'd have to ask him, and I'm sure he wouldn't mind telling me or you, but we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, this year I'm really excited to go back.
And then we finish off the championships in Sydney or Newcastle.
We're back to Newcastle, and how good. I know you mentioned earlier when we were talking offline that you're excited to go back there. Newcastle was the last time we were there was my first year, and still to this day, I remember standing out there and watching that opening ceremony roll out and hearing that noise, and I thought, holy shit, how good is this?
Sold out stadium. Yep.
Yeah, and it's a big stadium. McDonald Jones Stadium's massive. It's still like 25,000, and it's been received really well. Tickets are going great. It's it's exciting to go back there. Like the pit space is excellent. The viewing from every all three sides is really good. The Hunter region, I like to call it the dirt bike mecca of Australia. It's the number one region for dirt bike sales. If you're looking at local councils, it's so strong. I heard a stat the other day that it was out of everyone with an off-road motorcycling New South Wales license, 90% of them came from that Hunter region. I don't know how true that is because it sounds like a lot, but I heard that the other day. So you could just goes to show why wouldn't we go back there when we can? We've tried going back there every year, and it's just not available for us due to concerts and A-League. And again, this year, the date we got is right in between Robbie Williams and Guns N' Roses, two pretty big names in the entertainment world. And for little old AUSX to slide in the middle of it, it's pretty cool.
Yep. No, definitely. I'm very excited. That's still, over the last 3 years, one of my favourite Supercross events that I've been to, and I've been to all of yours, over the last 3 years. I thought the pit party was great. The stadium's fantastic. The racing was cool. The track layout was good. Like, there was plenty of space there. It was very hard pack and it got very cold at night, so it got a bit skatey, which made for some interesting action.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I'm really excited to go back to Newcastle. I think that was, like I said, one of the highlights of Supercross for me, which is, Supercross is my favourite event series of the year.
I mean, you're talking about where these venues are, and I mean, from a media point of view, where do you sit with it?
In terms of me getting to these events, it's a lot more difficult for me. I mean, I've had this conversation quite a few times, and I've just started putting the feelers out. Like I said to you off air, I work with a lot of privateers and satellite teams, some of which are going to be going this year, and some of which are not with the expansion or broader series. I did put some feelers out, and I think there is going to be less privateers on the gate. And so it makes it harder for me to, I guess, cover my costs to go to these rounds using the model that I have in the past.
I think, it's interesting that these guys are making a call on that now without hearing about everything else that we've got to roll out.
Yep.
I mean, we've still got another 2 or 3, I'd say another 2 really exciting announcements to come out that's going to probably change their mindset on that. And I can't really talk about it now because we're still very much in planning mode around these things, around, prize money and bits and pieces. But I think that when, we spoke about it before, and I said that I think we'll see similar numbers. I don't really see a drop happening from last year, and that's probably why. So I think just hold your horses on that one a little bit.
Yep. Oh, that's good. I mean, I actually put some feelers out to some privateers to see if they're going to be racing Supercross. So I reached out to 11 riders that all scored points last year across SX1 and SX2 in the championship. I got 10 responses. 1 said they're definitely going. 4 were hopeful but not sure. 2 would go to Melbourne and Sydney only, and 3 hard no's. So, there's still quite a few that are tentative about whether or not they're going to be able to make the series, and I know they're all keen.
Yeah, I think with what we've got to announce over the next couple of weeks, I think we'll change their mindset on that, and that's why I'm not too bothered about it. And I said it quietly confident before that I don't think there was going to be a drop, and that's because I feel like I know a little bit more than others do right now, and I know we're up against it in terms of time, and people are making some decisions based on what they know now. However, I think we're going to be able to change the mindset on a lot of them.
I look forward to that. All right, well, I guess that brings us into our next listener question. This one comes from Daniel S.
Hey, Pete, if I had to ask a couple of questions, I would probably ask, in their planning for the Supercross events, did they consider the privateers at all? Do you really want the privateers there? And if so, the new direction you guys are going, is that better for the privateers? And if they think it is, explain how it would be better.
Yeah, I mean, yes. When we put this series together, did we think of privateers? Yes, of course we did. I mean, Adam and I were privateers too. I've never been a factory racer in my life, and neither was Adam. So we know what it's like to be a privateer. Even when Cam was racing, I was a plumbing apprentice. Or just finished my plumbing apprentice, paying for my 16-year-old brother's racing as a privateer, so I get it as good as anyone. So yes, of course we did. I mean, yes, we want privateers there. Of course we do, and that's why we're putting these things together. I mean, it's not ideal. We didn't plan on introducing so many new things this year. Unfortunately, it's just the way it rolled out. But that's why we've also worked pretty hard on this rider support program. We've had rider support or privateer support programs over the last couple of years. We increased prize money from 10th place down to 20th place. So if you make the main, you get your entry fee back. Just on entry fees, every dollar of entry fees goes straight back into prize money. We don't get anything out of that. But we've got some exciting plans around prize money that, like I said, I can't really talk about too much, but just hold your horses on that one. We could have also, just rolled this calendar out and gone, see you later, or, we'll see you there. But we didn't. Like Callie and Jess and myself and Adam, like we've worked pretty hard on this rider support program, especially around the freight program. So, it's pretty cost effective, 5 rounds, and it's going to cost you 4,000. If you're an SX1, SX2, or SX3, cost you 4,200 bucks to get your bike, your spares, your parts, spare wheels, whatever else you can fit into a crate with someone else and their stuff. So I think it's pretty affordable from that side. We just didn't put that together based off our judgment. That freight program and that rider support program was put together based off a lot of research. I mean, I spoke to 4 or 5 privateers about what it costs them to race Supercross. Zane McIntosh was one. I mean, he won a bike last year that we organised through MX Store, but that's not my point. We spoke to Hayden Melross. I think we spoke to Jack Nunn, Cody Alone, Ryan Kohlenberg. I know it was either Cody or Ryan didn't come back to me, but we did reach out to them. But I can't remember which one of those two didn't write back. So it wasn't, we just didn't put that together without doing research and actually going out to these guys. So I think it's a pretty cool and supportive freight program. Again, it's not perfect. I mean, I know that your bike's going to be away from you in between rounds, and that means you might have to get another set of suspension done or other bits and pieces, and not everyone has 2 sets of suspension. So it does come with some challenges, and I know it hasn't solved everything, but if we didn't care about privateers, we wouldn't have spent so much time putting that thing together. And we could have just said, like, yeah, here's the calendar, see you there. But honestly, like, this took a lot of time. Time means money. It was hours to put this thing together. And I think we've done a pretty good job of it. It's all there in black and white on our website through the rider portal. Callie's done a great job of putting that rider portal together. We've got our new content incentive program. It's there. We've got a short list of riders that we want to enroll in that straight away. We've got riders ready to participate in that already, and yeah, it's exciting. It's interesting. I listened to your show with Seth last week, and he was not stoked about that program. He was stoked, but then he heard that to get involved, you needed 10,000 followers, and after hearing that, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. That maybe I spoke to Adam, and we're bringing that down to 5,000. I mean, Seth still doesn't hit it at 5,000. I think he's got 2,500 followers, which I think he needs to put a bit of time and effort into growing his following. And any professional, or they're calling themselves professional, should at least have 5,000 to 10,000 followers. In my mind. So anyway, we're lowering the barrier of entry there a little bit, where it's been reduced from 10,000 to 5,000 now to get involved. And so that was, feedback from your show. And there's a really good opportunity there for riders to make money by going to work with content. And I mean, if you're a privateer rider trying to make it in the sport, content is king right now. And there's some guys who do a really good job of it. Cody alone does a great job of it. As much as Elijah is controversial sometimes, especially towards us, he does a good job of it. So
in terms of
Zane McIntosh does a great job at social. He just needs to try and grow his following a little bit more so he can participate too. But we don't have to do that. By all means, we don't need to do that, but we're doing it to try and help these guys earn some more money.
As far as that program goes, and this is something I spoke about with Seth, and I actually did want to raise with you, could you make it more incentive-based so that it goes on the level of engagement? That
it is.
No. Without without any prerequisite. So basically, a rider like Seth, we'll use him as an example, that comes in and wants to do a post every day or every second day, can build that level of engagement over the course of the 60 days that the championship runs versus, I'll use the extreme example, someone like Dean Wilson, who has a squillion followers, who could probably do one post and get the same level of engagement. And I think that level of content creation and output, getting posts out every second day is probably going to be more beneficial to the championship anyway than one post from one rider.
Yeah, I mean it's a good point, and it's something that we'll continue to work on, and this content incentive program will continue to evolve. I mean, this came from Live Golf, I believe. I think that's where Adam found it. To be honest, I was like, man, do we really want to do this? It's something else we've got to manage. Do we have the people to manage? Whatever, and it kept coming at me. It kept coming at all of us, and we're like, fuck, all right, this thing's fucking happening. And now it has. I mean, I'm stoked. Sometimes with Beige, he reaches for the stars, that's for sure. And you got to pull him back a little bit, man. But I'll never, ever, ever doubt that guy when he gets something in his mind. Like he is one of the smartest dudes I've ever worked for. He's probably got the biggest set of plums out of anyone I know. And he has a crack. And when he gets an idea like this in his head, we're doing it. And sometimes I'm a little bit apprehensive, maybe because I think most of the time, maybe because we've got so much on already. But I mean, it happens, and then it always works out well. And I think this is just the start of this, and it's going to continue to evolve year on year. And yeah, maybe we do look at at your suggestion and bringing that into it. But right now it's not going to stay the same forever. But it's here now, and my point is it didn't need to be here now. So going back to the original question, do we care about privateers, or did we think about them? Yes, of course we do. We were one of them. Do we want privateers in our championship? Yes, we need them. Of course we give a fuck about them. We were on another show the other week, and one question that was directed to me, that was like, why do we hate privateers? I'm like, are you fucking serious or what? Like, that was the silliest question I've ever heard. And yeah, look, let's just leave it there. I think I hope I've answered that, and I hope Daniel feels like I've got my point across there, that yeah, we do care about privateers, we do want privateers in, and hopefully that rider support program and the freight program and the content incentive and announcement will roll out. It may involve prize money.
It must be so hard knowing more and not being able to talk. Yeah,
that will change their mindset on that.
No, for sure. I actually did have another listener question. It's about the content creation program. It was from someone who runs a privateer team of mostly SX3 riders.
Hi Mick, it's Matt here from Boyd's Moto Racing. My question is, are teams eligible for the rider support program that you guys are offering? I think it would be a great way for teams, especially the smaller teams such as ours, to help grow our social media following, as well as a little bit of extra money goes a really long way for us small teams.
All they got to do is enroll. Straight up. No problem. What's the difference, whether it's a rider or a team? In our eyes, if a team's running all their content and doing a better job than the riders, then yeah, for sure. Fuck yeah, let's do it.
We hope you're enjoying the show. Here at Mental for Moto, we can only do what we do because of the sponsors who support us. So please stay tuned for a couple of brief ads and make sure you show these legends some love.
Are you getting arm pump, fatiguing after just a few laps, or feel like you're often fighting against your bike? Today's motorcycles have been designed and built to suit a broad range of riders, conditions, and riding styles. This one-size-fits-all approach, however, means that when it comes to your own riding, your bike is often not handling and performing at its very best. Whether you're a weekend warrior or an elite-level racer, Fastline Suspension will help you unlock your riding potential by ensuring your bike is set up perfectly for your specific needs. And with the right setup, you're guaranteed to go faster, fatigue less, and ultimately have more fun riding your motorcycle. So what are you waiting for? Contact Adam at Fastline Suspension now. Fastline Suspension, set up for maximum performance, precision tuned for you.
There's nothing more refreshing after a day at the track when you're sweaty, grimy and exhausted than taking a dip in the pool. Southeast Pools specialise in building high-quality fiberglass and concrete swimming pools across the Peninsula and Gippsland region and offer a range of designs to suit every lifestyle, yard size and budget. So pick up that phone, give Trav at Southeast Pools a call today and be ready to take the plunge this summer.
Hero helmets have won over 125 motorcycling world titles with world-renowned superstars including Antonio Cairoli, Jeffrey Hurlings, Martin Muscan, even Jason Anderson. From the world stage right down to the grassroots motocross scene, Arrow is the title sponsor of the Gippsland Motocross Championships and even supports up-and-coming local legends such as Memphis Stravina and Zan McIntosh. As one of the lightest and safest helmets on the market, when it comes to protecting my most important asset, I choose Arrow as well. To check out the range of Arrow helmets, head into your local dealer today or click the link below to visit the website.
At Mental for Moto, our mission is to give the unsung heroes of Aussie motocross a voice. From grassroots racing right through to the biggest events in the country, sharing the stories you won't hear anywhere else. From the privateer chasing the dream, to the junior rider who's pushing for their first win, the mechanic who works late into the night to get the bike ready for race day, to the track builder who turns a pile of dirt into a work of art. This is the beating heart of our sport. We're able to bring these stories every week to thousands of Aussie Moto fans thanks to the generous sponsors who share our vision. If you're interested in the advertising packages that we have available, or just want to show your support, please check out our website, www.mentalformoto.com, and we can tailor a package to suit your needs. Now, let's get on with the show.
All right, so with all this controversy, tell me a little bit about the perception versus reality of your job.
Oh man, I don't know. I honestly don't know what what people think of us, and it's like, we definitely don't. We're not doing this to be rich, and you wouldn't be doing this if you didn't love the sport and if you weren't passionate about it. That's for sure. It's these events and this series is not an easy thing to put on, and I'm just a passenger at the best of times, and what Adam and Callie do, and what they put on the line to put this together for everyone is unbelievable. And I don't think anyone sees that. They don't need to do it. That's for sure. I'm sure both of them could go and earn more money by doing something else. Actually, I actually know it for a fact. I think we all could, but we love it. We're so passionate about it. We're so invested. None of us are going anywhere. And I think that's just the bit that people don't understand about us. I think that people see us like a Feld or a Live Golf or something like that, where we're all sitting back in our big homes and fancy cars, but that's definitely not the case. We're just like them. We're just like you, Pete. We're just having a crack at this, and we're having a crack at it because we love it and we want to see it work, and we're so invested now that we're not going anywhere. So I think that's just the difference of what some people think about us and what we do, and yeah, they don't really see what we do and why we do it.
Well, without going into specific dollars and cents, I think it'd be probably pretty interesting to know, and it's something that gets talked about. But as a promoter, like, what would your three biggest costs be? Is it venue hire or track building, or for a series like this? Because obviously there's a lot of outgoings as well.
Yeah, look, I might steer away from that one because again, I don't know everything within this business. I think there are many things that I know cost a lot of money. What the top three are, I actually probably don't know. I know venue hire is not cheap. I know dirt is fucking expensive. Some of the international talent is expensive. So yeah, I mean, in terms of top three, I'm not too sure, but I know everything we do, it adds up. I mean, accommodation is expensive, turf replacement is expensive, travel's expensive. It's just, there's nothing cheap about running these events. Like, I know that, Adam said this in a show the other night. I think every event costs over $1 million, well and truly over $1 million to put on, and AUSX Open could potentially be 4 times that. So, like I said, these things are not cheap to put on, but in terms of top three, I don't know.
I think you've answered that pretty well. All right. Well, you just mentioned the riders. You did mention them earlier just in passing, but let's talk about some of the talent that we've got coming to the Australian Championship this year.
You guys have seen the announcement to have 2 AMA Monster Energy Supercross champions back out this year is really exciting. Kenny is just an absolute superstar and still one of the most popular guys out there. So to have him come out for Auckland and Geelong is going to be great. Having Cole as well. I mean, he's just such a personality now. It's funny, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, was it? He was still out here racing SX3 for Yamaha, and now a few years later, he's back headlining these events, which is a pretty cool story, isn't it? I mean, we got Caden Manier wanting to come back out. And he had a great race on the weekend, but it was just only a couple of years ago that he was racing AUSX. I know he had that bad crash in Adelaide, and but to see these guys race our championship and then to go away and become international supercross stars is very cool. And then to come back and race our events again is awesome. So I think having Kenny and Cole out here is going to be great. And then Joe as well. Like, I mean, how cool. When I first got wind of Joe coming out here, I was actually out for dinner with Adam up on the Gold Coast, and that one really excited me. He's just a very popular dude who's going to bring a lot of excitement to these events, and it's not stopping at those three. There's still a lot of names getting thrown around. Some I know that have signed to local race teams to race the whole season. Some that I know may come out for one or two events, but we know. I think Dino's coming back. It's really hard for me to say because a lot of these race teams haven't announced their riders
officially,
yet.
yep.
But I know the lineup. Well, one, to race a whole championship is going to be very cool. There's some big names there, which is awesome. And then you've got those additions that'll come out and race one or two races like those three, Kenny, Joe, and Cole. Plus, I know, Adam's always talking to riders. It's funny because they contact him. It's not like, we have an endless budget where we can go out and just go and pick riders, and have this all-star lineup. They come to us or they come to Adam, and then we got to go and try and find it. So it's pretty exciting. I mean, yeah, I wish I could tell you more about it, but I really can't because it's not my job to tell you. It's the race teams. So, we're asking them, hey, can you please, we got tickets on sale. We want these names to be announced. So we're kind of putting that back on some of the manufacturers and teams to announce their Supercross lineup because I think that's going to excite a lot of people for sure.
Yeah, I think as a fan, it's awesome. And you've picked sort of three of the most fan favourite riders on the entire planet when it comes to Supercross. So I think that's super cool. The next thing we could talk about then with the internationals is there's been a bit of talk about the balance between internationals and the Aussie talent. So, just tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I've seen some of those comments too, Pete. And
from some big-name Aussie riders, might say.
I haven't seen that. I did actually hear about that today, though. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, it's also to have, guys like Dino and Joey and Shane McElrath and some others that are coming out or have been out before. I mean, what an opportunity it gives for our Aussie guys to race against them. I mean, would the likes of, say, Luke or guys like Nathan Crawford or Caden Manier, for example, if they didn't get an opportunity to race these guys at our series, would they get the same opportunities to race overseas? Would Luke have got that opportunity to race World Supercross, or he's raced in the US this year? Where would he have that platform to showcase his talent if he wasn't racing these guys out here?
I've heard that criticism too, and look, I'm not a fan of limiting who comes and races the Australian Championship. I think that's not done anywhere. In America, they don't limit the talent coming in. Over here, they want to win championships. Reeve's spoken about it. Craig Dack has spoken about it. So for me, I like seeing those riders come in and race the Australian Championship. Where I'm a little bit torn, and this is like where the purist in me and the fan in me, I don't know where I sort of sit. I'm a little bit, like I said, torn on it, is when you get guys like Roxon and Shimoda and Davies in, like the fan in me is unreal. I would 100% go and see those.
Yep.
But and I was critical of it with World Supercross, I don't like their wildcard system because I think those big names rob some of the spotlight of the competitors racing the championship. And I also think it interferes with the championship itself in terms of them taking gates and that's where, like I said, I'm completely torn.
They don't really take gates, are they? Like Ken and Joe are not taking gates, away from anyone. I mean, I don't think, just because there's two of those guys there, is there really two other guys going to miss out? Would they have really got in anyway? It's like it could have been, for those two guys missing out, it could have been or four people. I don't know. I agree with that in some way, but I don't on the other side. I mean, without guys like Ken and Joe, we just don't get bums on seats. And if we don't get bums on seats in these big stadiums, we lose money, and there is no such thing as a series. And if there's no such thing as a series, there is no racing in Australia for Supercross. The other option is we go back to Wagga. Do you remember that? I wasn't there, but that was fucking horrible.
Yeah.
Do you want to go to Nyora Speedway for an Australian Supercross race? No, like we're not doing that anymore. We're past that. The only way to do it is to bring guys like this out.
I'm not going to America, so this is, the opportunity for me to see guys like this race. So, like I said, there's that side of me that thinks it's absolutely unbelievable, and the only bit like I'm torn is that the purist side in terms of like the championship being a championship. But I understand both sides, so I'm definitely not against those guys coming over either. I understand the position from a commercial reality, and
we also don't sign the guys who are racing the whole championship. We don't sign them. We might offer some support with travel and bits and pieces, but there isn't a lot from us. Like, that's a race team decision, and we can't control what race teams do. I mean, it's an Australian championship event, which means it's an open event, which means you or I could enter SX1. So we can't stop anyone. If you've got a Supercross endorsement and want to race SX1 because it's an Australian championship round, unless we rock up to the gate and Kevin Williams says you're going to hurt yourself, we can't stop them.
I think there's way more benefits than there is negatives to that, so I'm all for it. On that note, though, can you tell me yet how many riders on the gate are you expecting to have this year?
That's a good question. Is it 18 or 20? It's either, I can't remember. I'd have to go back and look at the format and sub-regs because I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's either 18 or 20. What was it last year? Can you remember?
18.
Yeah, I think it'll be similar.
Yeah, and I think we had 16 at Adelaide, which because it's a smaller track, but other than that, yeah, I think it was 18 at the first four rounds.
Yeah, there'll be no reason to change the amount of gates with the venues we got going this year, so it's I think it'll be 18.
Can you talk about any of the formats yet? I think on one of the press releases I said that it said there was some exciting new formats.
I mean, they're all exciting, but nothing's new. I think what some fans will be excited about is we're going back to more traditional formats.
That's very cool.
Yeah, it's cool. So there's probably going to be more traditional formats than not. So there'll be traditional formats and triple crowns this year. I think
that's awesome.
A couple of triple crowns and 3 traditional, which, as a fan, I'm excited about. And as a guy who is on the floor trying to help these guys out to try and coordinate, I'm also a fan.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably one of the biggest stresses of your night, isn't it, normally?
Yeah, it has been. I was pretty removed from it last year because I was kind of more focusing on our partners being there and doing some more hosting and taking partners down to the podium and bits and pieces like that. So I was kind of more doing that. And Jake Williams, I handed that floor manager role over to him last year, and sometimes I looked over and he was like a deer in headlights, and I knew exactly how he was feeling. And I got down there and rolled up the sleeves a couple of times to give him a hand around a couple of podiums and a couple of opening ceremonies. But he did a great job with that last year. I mean, that is probably it's a very underestimated role, that floor manager for Supercross. And I would say 99% of the people don't even know that role exists. But you've seen it firsthand how complex it can get trying to juggle a live broadcast, a race director yelling in your ear, and riders at the same time, and teams. You're trying to listen to 4 different people at times. At one, some at times listening to 5 different people. So that's a tricky role. But yeah, so definitely going to some traditional formats will ease a bit of pressure from everyone down there. And I think it's very exciting for the fans. I mean, I can't wait for it.
I haven't got any complaints about the formats you've run. Certainly last year I thought that was great, but I do love the traditional sort of 20-minute mains as well. So it's going to be, I think, a change in dynamic too, seeing the tracks break down a little bit more. That's going to be cool for the racing, I think. All right, the last thing I wanted to talk about was the AJMX calendar clash. So, I mean, I understand for the 85s, they're going to be just doing the last 3 rounds, and like you said, potentially an 85 class for some of the New Zealand locals. just talk to me a little bit about the clash with the Australian junior motocross calendar.
That clash is isn't ideal. We know that. We really tried to avoid it. Again, with Townsville, we didn't know we were going there until April. Our intention was to go back to Redcliffe, and up until they pulled the contract on us, which was a bit of a surprise. We had to go scrambling and try and find a venue. Venues that time of year are definitely, like I said, they're not easy to find, especially when there's a Rugby League World Cup on. And Guns N' Roses are touring and Robbie Williams are touring. And A-League's on. It's quite tricky. So we got the opportunity to go to Townsville. We love that venue. It's something that we've spoken about for a couple of years, and that's just a date we got. We tried to work with MA. We tried to work with the Shepparton club to try and move their date back a little bit. But even if they were to move it back, by one weekend, so the kids on 85s could get up there, it wouldn't have been fair to send kids racing motocross and preparing for the Australian Junior Motocross Championships, and then send them out on a Supercross track. I mean, for us, ideally, and it's something we've been apparently talking about for 8 years. I mean, I've only been here for 4 years, but I know it's been a discussion with MA for quite a while, is to move the junior nationals to that July school holiday. So now. And that gives everyone enough time to get ready for Supercross as well, because we don't have a big window. We've got a 2-month window, and we can't choose any date we want at the venues we want, or we can't even choose the venues we want some of the time. So it was really unavoidable. We have copped a lot of criticism over it, and I understand, because without knowing, I mean, I would have probably said some of the same things, but we definitely didn't want it. We know it's not ideal. We're going to continue to work with MA on calendars and bits and pieces, and so this doesn't happen again next year, because I mean, we've grown that 85 class to what it is now a lot over the last couple of years. I remember the very first conversation I had with Chad about introducing the 85 class back into AUSX, and then I remember the conversation we had with Kevin about talking to MA about making it an actual championship class, which we've done. So it's not like, for us to not include 85s after the work we put into that class, it isn't nice. It's not fun for us either.
Yeah.
It's something that we definitely didn't want to do, but unfortunately it was unavoidable. We know it's not ideal. We hate it, but it is what it is for this year, and we'll just, put the work in now so it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, so what about the SX3 riders? Because SX3 is 14 to 17, and I've already spoken to quite a few of the teams and riders themselves. There is quite a few SX3 riders that are trying to work out how they're going to race AJMX from Monday to Friday, and then, hightail it from Shepparton, get to the airport, have a Supercross bike already on its way up to Townsville, and fly up there. But I mean, it's a real logistical challenge from that perspective, because there is going to be SX3 riders. But was there any consideration not to have SX3 at that first round as a bit of a solution?
There was, but looking at some of the entries from last year, I guess we felt like it would only affect a couple. So maybe we were wrong there. I don't know. Maybe it's affecting more than what we actually thought. So yeah, it was a consideration. We wanted to run SX3 at every round, and that's where we got to with it. And again, I haven't heard of too many kids who rode SX3 last year not racing it this year. But so maybe you're hearing more than what I am and what we are.
Yeah, and I guess there's probably some of those that were 85s last year that would have been SX3 this year as well. Yeah, it's unfortunate. I think, fortunately, there's a lot of SX3 riders in the pool, so I think you'll end up with a full gate. But I think for a lot, this decision is going to be between whether they race AJMX or Supercross, because logistically that's a bit of a nightmare. But like you said, you guys didn't really have much of an option in terms of dates.
We didn't. We know it's not ideal. We hated just as much as everyone. We really did, and yeah, there's not much more I can say about that. We know it's not ideal. We don't love it, but it's where we're at right now.
Well, Mick, I really appreciate you coming on and having a candid conversation. Like I said at the very beginning of the show, I think this has the potential and is likely to be, from a fan perspective and an Australian Supercross perspective, the biggest series and season that we've seen yet. And it's certainly going to be something spectacular. So despite, some of the logistical challenges and things that have to be ironed out, which, like I said, I appreciate you've been so candid to speak on. I appreciate you coming on.
No, thanks for having me, mate. It's really cool to do this with you again. Like I said, I know we tried for a couple of years. It's been a couple of years since my first one, and we've tried against. But yeah, here we are, and hopefully we get to catch up a few times this year. I really enjoy having a chat with you. Thank you to you, mate, and your support and what you do for all the riders, not just privateers, but specifically the rider, the privateers, the content you're putting out for these guys. They're very lucky to have you, mate. You don't need to do it either. I'm sure you're not making millions off it, and I know how passionate you are. So thank you to you for your effort and your support with AUSX. I know since I've been at AME working on these events, you've been at every single one, and we appreciate that so much, and we hope you can be at every single one this year too. And yeah, well done, and thanks for everything you do too.
Thanks, Mick, and I'm looking forward to some of the upcoming announcements that you guys have yet to make too. So, for everyone, where can they keep track of all those updates? What's the best way?
Mental for Moto. You get our press releases. Tune in to Pete. You'll hear it first.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about it. Well, thanks again, and and to our partners here at Mental for Moto, Fastline Suspension, Southeast Pools, Ultimate Toy Haulers, Wolf Building Compliance, and the July sponsor of the Mental for Moto Motocross Wall Calendars, Iro Helmets. And most of all, thanks to you guys for listening. On behalf of Mental for Moto, I've been your host, Pete Wolf. Until next time, see ya.